Vous connaissez Peaky Blinders, la série culte devenue un phénomène mondial. Mais saviez-vous que Thomas Shelby vit désormais sur scène? À l'occasion de la sortie du spectacle musical Peaky Blinders, The Redemption of Thomas Shelby, nous avons eu l'honneur de rencontrer Steven Knight, le créateur de l'univers Shelby, réalisateur de la série. Il nous parle de cette adaptation unique entre danse, musique et émotion brute et de la suite de l'aventure Peaky. Alors Steven, comment vous sentez-vous après ce grand succès de la série Peaky Blinders?
It's been an amazing journey, the fact that it strikes a chord with people all over the world. And the same effect is being had with the dance show as well. It seems to have a direct line into people's emotions somehow.
Et donc, pourquoi était-il logique de créer un spectacle vivant après cette série?
I'm hoping it wasn't logical. In other words, it seems strange to do this, but that was sort of the appeal for myself and for Benoit, was to do something that it's only when you actually analyse it that it is logical. You know, if you look at Peaky, the music is really important. The way people move is really different, and the way people dress and look. And it just then felt as if it was a logical step to go into dance. I can't think of anything else I've ever written for TV or film which would make that, do you know what I mean? That step so logical. So it is logical, even though it seemed illogical.
Quel a été le plus grand défi pour créer ce spectacle vivant?
For me, it was being able to tell a story without words, because that's my thing. You know, that's the currency ideal in his world. And to try and tell the story, quite a nuanced story without that, was a challenge. But, you know, when you've got Benoit, who's such a brilliant choreographer, who is able to do that through movement and through music and inflection, it's a good challenge, because even when I was looking at rehearsals, I could feel that the message was getting through without the need for words, you know.
Et comment avez-vous réussi pour adapter toute la série en un seul et même spectacle?
I thought it would be a mistake to try and get the whole thing in. So what I decided to do was just tell one story, which is the story of Tommy and Grace. And anyone who knows the show knows that Tommy falls in love with Grace, but then she's killed. And what I wanted this to be was a study of Tommy subsequent to that, as well as before that, and how the grief and the mourning affects him. The thing is that if I tried to do this as in the television show, it would have been difficult, because Tommy doesn't speak about his feelings. He wouldn't share it with anyone. But when it's a dance show and you've got the audience one-on-one with Tommy, and you watch him move and you watch him react, you can tell that story really vividly without anyone having a need to have dialogue.
Comment est-ce que vous arrivez à convaincre le public de venir voir cette adaptation sur scène?
What's interesting, in the UK, we discovered that a huge percentage of the people who came had not only never been to a dance show, they'd never been to the theatre before. So there were people who loved the TV show and thought, well, I'll give it a go. And lots of people who were dragged there, who didn't want to go, but somebody said, come on, you got to come. And they think, oh. But they're the people who loved it, you know. And what I would say is give it a go, because there is something about being in a room with live dance and music that is quite surprising. I don't come from a dance background at all. I've never been to a dance show previous to. I've been to one ballet, and I was shocked at how emotional it is. So I would say to anyone who thinks, no, I don't do dance, the only thing I could compare it to is a football match where you really, and you win. You know, that emotion from just physical stuff is exactly like that.
Est-ce qu'il faut connaître l'univers de Peaky Blinders pour apprécier ce spectacle?
Yeah, you don't need to have seen the show or know the characters. I think the characters come alive very quickly. And so, you know, it's sort of a bit of timeless tale. So it is about redemption, it's about love and grief and all of those things that we all know about.
Et on se demande comment avez-vous réussi à garder l'esthétique authentique de Peaky Blinders dans ce spectacle sans tomber dans la parodie ou la comédie musicale trop évidente?
We talked about this a lot, Benoit and I, about how to realistically transfer that onto the stage. And, you know, Benoit is such a brilliant observer of movement. And in the show, people move in a particular way. They certainly dress in a particular way. And the music is always there, driving it along, sweeping it. It was possible to transfer some of that swagger, is the only word I can think of, into dance quite easily. So, you know, you see in the show, you see Aunt Polly. And it couldn't be anybody else other than Aunt Polly, just by the way she walks on the stage. So there are so many key elements of the show that are in the dance.
Dans le spectacle, est-ce qu'il existe une danse ou un style chorégraphique adapté à chaque personnage de Peaky Blinders?
Sort of. I mean, that happens naturally, I think, is that each of the main characters has their moment, you know. And when they have their moment, they have their music and they have their way of moving. But there is also an overriding language that, you know, Benoit is using as we go through the whole show.
Merci d'avoir regardé cette interview avec Steven Knight, le créateur de Peaky Blinders. Si t'as kiffé la vidéo, pense à mettre un like, lâche un petit commentaire et surtout abonne-toi à la chaîne pour ne rien manquer des prochaines interviews et contenus exclusifs by order of the Peaky Blinders. T'as plus d'excuses, clique sur s'abonner.